I think we all have those games that we really enjoy, but it seems as if everyone else doesn't. That's how I feel about Devil May Cry's 4th entry.
Devil May Cry 4 is a game that received a mixed reception upon its release in 2008, after the last game had absolutely blown fans away in 2005.
DMC4 is seen as a bit of a letdown by most of the community, a game that is technically fine but with a few hiccups that hold it back. It's personally one of my favourites in the series, probably just below 5. People weren't originally fond of the new main character for this entry, Nero. The whole situation with him is quite similar to the reaction to MGS2 when players were stuck with Raiden instead of Snake. It also didn't help that Dante was still in the game, but always being kept just out of the player's reach.
Which might be a good thing, because if I got my hands on Dante, I don't know what I would do.
But today, I want to use my demon arm to bust this game wide open and explain to all of you why I defend DMC4.
First thing I want to talk about is the most obvious addition to Nero's arsenal, Devilbringer. Devilbringer is the best addition I could have ever asked for. It's by far my favourite gameplay mechanic in DMC4. The ability to yoink an enemy out of the air never stops being satisfying. And there's nothing I love more than beating the shit out of old men. The busted abilities are a visual spectacle, and there are unique animations for every enemy. These even work against bosses if stunned, and that is truly a treat. One of my other favourite additions is style switching. In DMC3, Dante could choose between one of 4 styles, but in 4, he can switch between them at any time. This is a fantastic addition, as it allows for many more combo opportunities, like throwing an enemy into the air with Swordmaster, and then jumping up and shooting them with Rainstorm, before landing on the ground and trickster dodging an incoming attack. This gives the combat a new layer of depth, as players can now chain combos and styles to do some crazy shit. I take a bit of an issue with the main heroine of our story.
This is the weakest character in all of DMC. In previous games, we had female characters like Lady or Trish, even fucking Lucia, who could fight and hold their own amongst all the batshit demon insanity going on. Kyrie is the Ashley Graham of the DMC series.
Nothing but a plot device to motivate Nero. She literally does nothing of any significance in this entire game.
Since I've started discussing the story, let's summarise, shall we?
The story is about a young man named Nero and features Dante from the Devil May Cry series when he murders a whole cult in cold blood. Nero doesn't think this is very nice and kicks Dante in the fucking face, stabs him, and WWE slams him before Dante pieces the fuck out, leaving our hero quite confused. He makes his way through the now wrecked Fortuna before facing his first boss, Burial. Nero ain't taking no shit though and starts to fight him, and right before he kills Burial, he pieces out as well. The Burial fight is a good encounter and gets us used to fighting the massive enemies we will face throughout our adventure. He has wide swings that are well telegraphed, allowing us to use our arm to avoid them. Or not. Moving on from this, we make our way through a mine and towards a castle where we meet Eye Candy. Nero is clearly not a ladies' man. Inside the castle, we face the Bianco Angelos, who are annoying as fuck later on, but for now we take care of them and continue on our way. Our second boss fight appears, and they don't look that threatening. Oh wait, it's a Dark Souls boss. This toad is called Bale, and he's alright. Attacks are quite easy to dodge since he's so huge, and he occasionally disappears and we have to beat up the women to bring him back. Nero doesn't kill him either because he's a little bitch, I guess, and we move on to the lab below the castle. Meanwhile, the Pope has been revived through some magic shit. In the lab we encounter these annoying ground sharks before playing the worst game of D&D ever. This dice shit is the most annoying thing ever. You have to hit the dice when the number you want is on top, which is extremely boring when you know this, and you just have to wait for the number. We move on and encounter Agnes, who is the main scientist villain in this whole scheme. He is the Yamato that belonged to Virgil in 3, but it's broken. We fight Agnes. It's really more of a fight against Windows before being pinned to a wall.
I
wish that was me. This awakens Nero's Devil Trigger, and he reassembles the Yamato. Nero's DT looks a little different to previous games. Nero has a glow around him, but stays in his human form, but still gets all the enhancements of Devil Trigger, regaining health and boosting the damage of his attacks. He absorbs the Yamato into his arm, which is where it shall be stored for the foreseeable future. Our next area is the forest, and it's probably the most boring of all the areas, with this one puzzle that actually isn't much of a challenge when you know what you're looking for.
We meet Dante at the start of this area, and this interaction could have obviously been cut out. It adds nothing.
The boss for this area is a snake woman, and she isn't difficult, but definitely annoying, since she flies around and her weak point hovers above the ground, meaning that I had to use the arm constantly to try and hit her. Nero still can't seem to finish a fight though as she escapes into the Hellgate. Nero now makes his way back through most of the level we just played to get to the Order of the Sword's headquarters, where he is met by our next boss. Credo, but in weird angel/demon form. This is the second best fight in the whole game, as it tests our combos since he can block most of them, so we have to figure out a way around him. He's also extremely quick and will teleport across the arena with no hesitation before bodying you. Upon beating him, we notice Kyrie standing behind us in terror as we stand over our brother with our demon arm on full display. This causes Nero to rethink his entire life before she is stolen away by Agnes. This brings Credo to our side as we team up to get Kyrie back. We make our way through the headquarters, fighting a lot of Bianco and Alto Angelos along the way. There's an interesting section involving slowing down time to pass through lasers in between elevator fights to ascend the tower. We come face to face with Agnes and actually get to fight him instead of Windows 95. He went down fairly easy, as his attacks are quite simple to dodge, and many of his more devastating moves can be cancelled with a quick combo. The Pope interrupts, possessing a suit of armour, and now he kidnaps Kyrie. For fuck's sake, does she do anything in this game? Nero gets super angry and beats the ground before being shot. We head back down through headquarters and meet Dante for what I believe to be the best fight in the game. Unlike the tutorial, Dante ain't holding back this time and hits you like a 10-ton truck at 100 and fuck miles per hour. We see him occasionally glowing throughout the fight and wonder what this is. It's him style switching, and it's also super cool seeing him use moves from previous games that we've performed on the player, like Stinger or the Million Stabs. Even with the Yamato, Dante still styles on us, and Nero finally calms the fuck down. The eye candy is revealed to be Trish, as she and Dante discuss Nero's chances of beating Sanctus. We find the final boss and begin to fight him. This is where we beat an old man into submission. And despite our felony level crime, we don't win, as Kyrie is used as bait and Credo gets stabbed, leading Nero to be crushed, stabbed and absorbed into the Saviour, but not before flipping off Dante, leaving him to now deal with the massive statue of Sparta controlled by Sanctus that is unleashing demons in Fortuna. This is where we switch to Dante, and my summary becomes very brief, since Dante plays back through all the levels and bosses that Nero did.
This is a massive talking point with this game, is that it repeats content, and I can't deny that is a massive flaw. The other games in the series reuse content, but normally it's switched up in some interesting way, but this time there's nothing to separate it apart from fighting as Dante. And we skip none of it at all. We play through every mission that Nero did and fight every boss.
Even the extra weapons Dante gets aren't that good. Gilgamesh, Lucifer and Pandora are my least favourite weapons in the whole series, and don't even correlate to the demons you kill, unlike previous weapons. This keeps going until we fight the Saviour, which is the worst fight in DMC history. It's going for the spectacle of fighting a massive monster, but it totally fails, when half the time you can't hit the monster unless you fire your guns, which is the least effective method. I'm pretty sure everyone can back me when I say that this boss is awful. But we defeat him regardless, and Dante launches the Yamato into the Saviour to motivate Nero, and it's the most wacky ass shit I've ever seen. Nero is awakened by this sudden motivation and makes his way towards Sanctus to beat him up again, but not before playing dice game again as part of a fucking boss rush. This now makes this the third time you have fought the same bosses with no changes to their attack pattern at all. We get past this shit and begin our battle with Sanctus. This is mostly a repeat of his earlier fight, but he can now teleport away when you try to hit him with the Buster, which makes the fight a little more annoying. But we kick his ass with the power of love and stand in the destroyed city talking to Dante, who leaves this world-ending sword in the hands of a teenager. I see nothing that could go wrong here. We end with protecting Kyrie during the credits sequence, and she ceases to exist.
The story overall is not perfect, but very enjoyable. I could do without the heavily repeated content, but the story being told, I actually really enjoyed. It's a good start to Nero's character arc that will be continued in 5, and an enjoyable plot to make my way through. I like that Dante slowly changed as well, from being more like DMC2 Dante at the start, to his usual self by the end of the second fight with Nero. It was really cool to see.
I love Nero's combat and how it differs from Dante. Dante is complicated since he has multiple games worth of skills to get used to again, but Nero is a fresh slate. He is the perfect character for a beginner. He feels really good while in the air since he can continually use Devil Breaker to yank enemies up to him or down to him for a ground combo. His ground combos are awesome as well and give a good variety of movement and makes him look stylish. Dante, on the other hand, is enhanced compared to other games, since he has all of his previous combos and now can style switch, allowing him more combo variety. Where Nero falls, however, is that he has one sword and one gun. Now, this sword is versatile as all hell, but it would be nice if Nero got at least one other weapon. His gun is also kinda weak, and I very rarely used it compared to Ebony and Ivory. I also played the original Xbox 360 port for this video, and I can say it definitely holds up. It plays smoothly at 60 FPS, and I barely noticed any difference in visuals. The main difference is just the literal resolution of the output. The PC copy is outputting 1080p, and the 360 is putting out 720p because of my capture card, but I think it still looks pretty good. There was a special edition version of this game released in 2015 that slightly updated the game and added in some new content, like the ability to play the campaign as Lady/Trish. I tried this out, but wasn't much of a fan of Lady's gameplay since her combat felt a fair bit slower than our Devil Hunter boys, and I didn't play it for too long.
It also added a third way to play the campaign, by including the man, the myth, the legend, Virgil.
His gameplay is absolutely insane, and is pretty similar to his inclusion in DMC3, which I forgot to mention in that video. It takes a bit of getting used to, but you feel so fucking cool while playing as him, since he just wrecks shit. He's equipped with Yamato, Force Edge, and Beowulf, which gives him a great variety in his combo possibilities. I would recommend buying the special edition due to the sheer amount of content it adds in for extra replay value. As if you needed it.
And that's all I have to say about DMC4. I really enjoyed my time playing this game, and it ranks as one of my favourite games of all time. And by the end of this video, that means that I have but one more game to cover in this series. And that will be quite the adventure when we come to it. But for now, I shall take my leave. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.